on modern yokes and burdens. I hope some of you will be able to get over to Facebook to see the first part of this lesson. I had a young helper who assisted me in the historical part of this lesson. The burdens of the past seem quite great, and those current small, when physical attributes of strength are considered against the jobs. Our ancestors would laugh at the burden of sitting all day inside at a desk, away from the weather, and with facilities that actually take away your bodily waste. Whoever thought of that was such a marvelous woman. And then going in a vehicle, there's a little car showing, with no flies, no bugs, no larvae, not even a horse. There's a little horsey. I'm sure many of us wouldn't mind the chores of a single horse, but 425 in a lawnmower, and in these vehicles there's thousands. Oh, and at such speeds you travel, all the time. Then to go to a grocery store, such awe and near reverence in her voice. You don't grow any of your own food, but from whence does it come? Who has brought forth thus bounty of corn, lettuce, apples, tomatoes, and whatever wheatgrass is, and rice? You'll explain later what all of this is to me. And how do you share with the farmer's family for his great bounty and all of their labor? Milk in a tub. But where are these cows, and who has milked them for you? How will you share evenly with them for their work and for all of their cows' bounty? How do you know it's fair? Okay, enough of that. You can see where their envy of our life quickly turns to horror for the lack of connection to the land and the community, and also the equity or lack thereof with the farmers. But though over 72% of modern jobs require no actual physical labor, they couldn't be completed by spineless noodles. Nor creatures without muscles, like an amoeba. Jobs of sitting have yokes of stress due to the mental tasks and, worse, the politics of the office. Something our ancestors never had to deal with on the farm or while cutting lumber. The mental games in an office cause the most stress and are the greatest burden of the job. And this was before social media and email, when it could only be done via whispers and notes over the top of the cube wall, or during a toilet break. And that is when and where the most damage is done for backstabbing and the other yoke of the modern job, the malicious, false gossip, designed to harm someone, for they can't deny it, without hurting another innocent. These false rumors which create a catch-22. Sacrifice yourself, or this blessed innocent will be irretrievably damaged to death. Actually, innocents that are happening with teenagers now. They've seen and heard it through their parents. They've seen and heard it on TV dramas. And they have therefore taken what they've seen and heard, changed it and emulated it. The teens have yet not got the social norms, the mental toughness, and the maturity to handle these vicious attacks, nor the reins to draw back upon their emotions. Due to their stage of development, they are more vicious and more susceptible to the attacks, especially with the young women who are particularly vicious. And with the faceless, nameless internet, entire lives can and are destroyed with this false gossip, innuendo, and rumor. Online bullying is far more brutal because there's no one against which to fight. As a result, the suicide rate has increased. It was high in the 80s, before the internet was developed. In that time, it was high because there were suicide pacts that would take 30 of one class, because they would decide if you suicide, I will suicide, he will suicide, they will suicide. Suicide is contagious. If 20 go at one school, the school 30 miles away will lose 10. The school 40 miles away from them will lose 40, and on and on and on. In the 30 to 40 years since the internet started, the first jump in suicide rate was 20%. This is non-accidental proven suicide rate. Thus, the rate itself is highly conservative. Since the beginning of this century, the suicide rate has then jumped an additional 18%. So since the year I graduated from high school in 1982, the teenage suicide rate has increased 38% over the high norm of what it was when I was in high school, before the internet. If you have teens, teach them. If you have teens, listen to their unspoken words. Silent is an anagram to listen. When you listen, you must quiet your needs so that you can better hear the needs of the other. It won't be words that are spoken, but in the silences between the words, in the pauses, in the looks, the tears or anger. These show you where the burden is far too much for a wee teenager to carry. They may look like adults, but they aren't. These are children. And you yourself must be an adult and care for them. Give them the love. Give them the care that they need now, or you won't have that child. You will be standing alongside their grave, wondering what to put on their graveside marker. The domestic violence started in their relationships in the 4th grade. So by the 10th grade, their reaction to a drunk football player picking up a girl a foot shorter and 100 pounds less is, "Oh, that's just Robbie." Well, after Robbie is done speaking to this female classmate, he simply and literally throws them against the room, throws them across the room and against the wall. So lucky was he to not have any of these hundreds land poorly and with broken neck, getting the opportunity to spend the next 6 months minimum in a halo brace, being flipped every hour like a hamburger patty. And then when her spinal recovery was hopeless, she'd be fitted into a wheelchair for her first 5 years. And then one, minimum, every 5 years thereafter. Wow, what great relationships, eh? Aren't you happy that you went to that party? To have the end of the senior term memories that I'll recall the rest of my life. Yes, the memory was screaming, Lauren, Lauren, wake up, girlfriend. Come on, Lauren, open those beautiful eyes. Come on, Lauren, come on girl, come on, girl. And the paramedics, looking at each other, pushing back the crowd and asking, does anyone know if she wanted to be an organ transplant participant? Oh, those horrible screams. That is the burden. That is the one yoke of this, our 21st century. Peace of the Lord Jesus Christ be with each of you, always.